Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the From the Stands podcast. We are back for episode number 48 on this January 16th, coming at you again on this Thursday with another episode. Like I said, Fezzy Boy, how you doing? Survived the vicious winter storm that we had come through the upstate here. You want to give us a little update about the storm we weathered through?
Yeah, I was wrong. It was a little more than a light dusting, but it wasn't anything too crazy, even though our whole state of South Carolina was in a frantic panic. I think like all schools were like closed till like Monday or something like that. I was still at work, unfortunately, but
It was the vibe at work.
the vibe at work, it was cold. No one wanted to be there. We did get to leave early. I did end up leaving early
Nice.
because everyone in the office left, and then we were just out back, and we got what we needed done, and then we took off too. So I was just like, I'm
Did you
going
leave
home.
before the snow came, or?
It started falling. It wasn't like anything crazy yet,
Oh,
but it did start snowing, and then I got home, and then I was like, holy cow, it's actually sticking around. So yeah, but it wasn't too bad on the roads, thankfully. But yeah, we survived another vicious South Carolina blizzard. So how was it for you sitting at home working on your laptop?
Yes. Wasn't too bad at all. Obviously, I had a window like right in front of me the whole time, so I saw it start to come
Yes.
down and everything. It stopped like pretty soon after. It wasn't too bad at all, and I was like, "There's not even anything on the road." Like
No.
it's just like so disappointing. So it was whatever. But it was super super icy the next morning. Like I went to basketball the next morning, and like when we got up, it was really really icy. But the roads were fine, but my truck was like covered in ice. So I was like, ooh. But the roads were
Yeah.
completely fine. By the time I even left basketball when we were done, like the roads were dry. So definitely not the storm we were hoping for or even expecting or forecasting, but such is South Carolina. Anything that's not sunny and 75, they don't get down with. So glad we survived another one. Glad we didn't lose power. PD
That's
lost
true.
power for a few hours. I don't know if you knew that or not.
Wait,
But,
actually? Dang.
yeah, it wasn't
Man,
for
they
very
just-
long, but
that's good.
I think it went out at like 10 or something, and I think it was only out like 3 or 4 hours. But I was like,
How's
man,
that work? Does like someone have to run into a telephone pole or something?
no
with the snow on the
idea.
ground? That's wild.
They got to beef up the infrastructure or something down there. Like,
I guess
they got it rough, but
they got to figure it
anyways.
out there in Piedmont. Holy cow,
That's what I'm saying, dude. I think all those new construction homes are messing things up. But
could be.
Anyways, we have another jam-packed episode for you guys. The usual sports, really. NFL, we're in the thick of it as far as the playoffs are concerned. Soccer, we are. Everything is actually kind of getting a little bit more competitive at the top of the English Premier League, at least. Some good rivalry games to talk about as well, and obviously at the end, as we usually do, we'll round it out with some mainly college basketball talk, and Fezzi will get into it.
Yes, sir.
A little bit later in the podcast there. So without further ado, let's get it. Just wrapping up the wild card matchups, and we did have a couple pretty good games. We had some other games that weren't really super competitive, at least from the beginning. We could talk about that a little bit. Do we need to change the playoff seeding like the college people always talk about, and now the playoffs are kind of shaking out? But we'll kind of take it one by one, kind of talk about the matchups. First one, we'll start kind of as they happened, I guess. LA Houston. I was seeing a lot of people coming down on the side of the LA Chargers here on this one, thinking that Justin Herbert and company would get it done. Harbaugh, new coach with good running game and everything. Texans not looking as great as they did maybe a little bit earlier in the season, but not to be. Houston take care of business here, 32-12. Really no issues for Houston at all right from the beginning. Their defense was really sound, didn't really give Justin Herbert any opportunities really. Justin Herbert kind of struggled. He had kind of a lot of critics come down on him, at least after the game. Just not a great stat line by him. 4 interceptions on the day, so a lot of people are starting to wonder when he's going to have kind of his playoff moment. A lot of people think that with him winning a couple playoff games here, that he might propel himself into the stratosphere with some of the great ones in the In the AFC, at least with Burrow and Mahomes and Lamar and some of those guys. He obviously doesn't get it done against Houston, and we're not really talking about him like that. It's more like what can he do next year? So that'll kind of wrap it up for the Houston and LA. Houston moves on to face the Chiefs coming up on this Saturday afternoon. But we'll get into the big one for old Fezzy boy is
Oh
Steelers
boy.
going up against Baltimore. Once again coming up flat, 28-14. This is a vintage Lamar game, really just running and passing all over the Steelers. A lot of talk online about the Steelers not showing fight. A lot of talk before and after the game about Tomlin and how he's great at getting his guys to the playoffs, but can't do anything in the playoffs. They never peak at the right time, really. That's 7 playoff losses in a row for Mike Tomlin. What say you as the old resident Steeler fan over there? What's the vibe?
It sucks, man. It sucks. I was watching, especially that first half, dude. We weren't doing anything, defense or offense. It was big old. I don't know the actual stat, but it was like the first time in a long time that we had been held to 0 points in the first half in the playoffs. So that was a not so good feeling. But my biggest thing was the Steeler no fight, and more specifically on the defensive end. We hang our hats on defense every year. Tomlin's a defensive coach. That is always what we're good at. Like I think I mentioned in past podcasts that we're literally always like at least top 10 in the NFL every
TJ
year.
Watt did not record a single stat of any kind.
Yeah, and
Not
I would
even
like
a
to
tackle.
I would like to think it was him playing through injury. He did get some sort of like stinger in his left arm and had to have that taped up and braced up pretty good. I would like to think, but I mean, it's the playoffs, man. Like it's win or go home. You gotta see something from the defensive side, especially in the second half. I think that Russell Wilson and the offense actually really stepped it up. They had a few touchdowns there at the end, and really should have had another one, but our offense isn't like that. We hang our hat on holding teams, I don't know, under 17 points, and then hopefully outscoring them by like a field goal or something. But that was not to be. Baltimore's the real deal. But yeah, I
What do you
think
have
it
to
was
say
just
about the running game being literally non-existent? For the whole day, you guys ran for 29 yards. Najee Harris only ran for 17. Only had 6 carries as well. So you guys are just not even trying to run the ball against the Ravens.
yeah. I mean, in the first half, I think we were trying a little bit, but I don't know. Arthur Smith came in and he was just like, yeah, I like to run the ball, a lot of play action, stuff like that, non-existent in this playoff game. And then there was all this talk about like different packages with Justin Fields. I think we saw Justin Fields like once or twice the whole night. That I can remember. Honestly, I don't even remember seeing him, but really, really poor like showing by everybody on the Steelers, like top to bottom, the whole organization, coaching staff, players. It really, especially against your rivals, your arch rivals, like the Baltimore Ravens. Like you have their number every year, every time you play them, and we just landed flat on our faces. It was hard to watch,
You think they
honestly.
should have turned to Fields at any point during the game? I mean, Russell Wilson, from a stat point of view, didn't have a terrible game, 20 for 29, 2 touchdowns, but obviously took quite a few sacks. Obviously couldn't get them to the red zone often enough. But do you think you should have gone to Fields at all?
Maybe in that first half, but I could understand like kind of riding it out. I was a little surprised that we didn't see him early in the second half. But like you said, I honestly Russell Wilson was the least of our problems, especially in the second half. The offense started like actually scoring the ball pretty consistently. The drop off in running was also like the fact that we were down by a lot going into the second half. Like we need to start throwing the ball and have urgency. So I don't really blame the offense a whole lot. My biggest quarrel, I guess you could say, is with the defense. But yeah, it's just hard to watch
Yeah,
all around.
right. Seeing as this will be the last time, at least for a little bit, that we'll talk about the Steelers, what kind of changes do you want to see them make? What kind of changes do you think that they'll make? Do you think that they get rid of Arthur Smith, your offensive coordinator. You think they get rid of Russell Wilson, who's going to be 37 next year, might turn to Fields. Najee Harris, kind of has been known as the one of the top backs in the NFL for a couple seasons now, but he's basically a professional at turning a 10-yard gain into like a 5-yard gain at this point. So, what do you think the moves are going to be this offseason? I don't think there's any way they get rid of Tomlin, do you? But what do you think some of the changes are going to be?
Yeah, no, we're definitely not getting rid of Tomlin, even though I'm not one of them, but a lot of the fans want him gone. I don't think that's the answer. Just if you put your pride and passion aside, you just see that he really runs this organization well, runs this team well. I think the biggest thing I would want to see is more of a new age offensive coordinator, not something very archaic, but along with that, you need a quarterback that's not, old, run down. I'm not sure if Justin Fields is the answer. Maybe if we got a younger, newer coordinator with some ideas that would help Justin Field, maybe. But our offense is just very. I like the idea of running the ball, but if you don't have a running back that's going to do it consistently, love Najee Harris, but I just don't think he's it. He's a free agent as well, so I think we could see him go, bring someone else in. The biggest problem is I was talking to you off pod, but we're always above 500, usually making the playoffs. We never have one of those premier top picks every year. So we can't go get one of these up and coming quarterbacks. We can't go get a big time running back. So it's always like we got to try to trade. And that's what worked with Big Ben. He was like, he wasn't like the greatest quarterback, but he was in the conversation in top 6 or 7 quarterbacks in the league for sure. So he filled the holes on the offense that the coordinator or Tomlin didn't have to worry about. He just took care of the offense. But now we got quarterbacks that are older or not quite as good as Big Ben was, and it's just like, we got to fix it somehow, either coordinator or somehow. And I don't know who. I don't have an answer because we'd have to trade for one, and the only ones out there like a Kirk Cousins or a Sam Darnold or someone like that. Goodness. I mean, what were we going to be, the Jets, and roll the dice on Aaron Rodgers and be like, hey, come play above? I don't
He loves
know, man.
Tomlin, man.
He does. And honestly, I was like looking at that the other day, and I was like, it's not out of the realm of possibility. But I don't know, man. I don't have the answers. I don't know I know what the answers are. I just don't know how we're gonna do it because we don't have those picks, and we got to trade for a quarterback that's not out there.
Yeah. Personally, as a guy who doesn't have anything to do with the Steelers or anything like that, I would love to see Fields get a solid shot just for a whole season. I feel like he was done dirty with the Bears just because the Bears are the Bears and they never really put the pieces around him. If he had Caleb Williams pieces, I feel like he could have actually done some things this year. But obviously he started out good with the Steelers, but then obviously they turned to Russell Wilson about halfway through the year when he was healthy. So I think he's a good player. Obviously, he's an amazing runner as well. I think he could be maybe Lamar Jackson, just maybe not quite as good. But I would just love to see a team with some actual pieces around him, give him a shot for more than just half a season, just to see what he's got. But we'll see what the Steelers are like going forward. Obviously not a great way to end the season, giving up 186 yards to Derrick Henry and the Ravens, which they're going to be going up against the Bills next week. So we'll get into that a little bit later. But Steelers, see you later. Good to see in these playoffs, but out after one game as per usual. Yeah. So see you next year when you're there to do it again. So we'll move on to the Bills, Buffalo Bills against the Denver Broncos. Everybody had the Bills pretty big in this one. And for once, the bettors and the predictors and everybody were right. Bills come out victors 31-7. I was actually watching this game. Broncos got out to a nice early lead, a 7-0 with a nice ball over the top by Bo Nix. I was like, okay, let's see what you got, Broncos. But basically from then on, it was just a Bills beat down. So not too much to talk about in this game. Josh Allen and company just kind of taking care of business. Easy win really for them. They just kind of got into a groove and just kind of played Buffalo Bills football. So I'm not sure if you were able to catch any of this game at all, but what do you got to say about the Bills going into that matchup against the Ravens next week?
Yeah, I think that first drive from Bo Nix really kind of just woke the Bills up. They're like, all right, playoff football, let's go. And from there on, like you said, it was just like an onslaught of just Josh Allen and their defense playing like really well. I mean, Denver's no team to just brush off. I mean, Bo Nix has been
Yeah,
playing well here at the end of the season. Hall of Fame coach. They got some good players as well. Their defense also has been playing really good for most of the season as well.
yeah,
Um, I think Tim Tebow still has the last Denver playoff win, doesn't he?
he
Doesn't he?
does.
Our
Yeah.
boy, well, I can't say our boy. I don't know your feelings about Tim
Well,
Tebow. I love me some Tim Tebow, but he did beat the
it,
Steelers in that playoff win in
he's
overtime, so
he's
that's
the
a feel
last
bad.
Denver quarterback to be drafted by them to win a playoff game. They won the
Yeah.
Super Bowl with Peyton Manning after that.
Oh
But
yeah. I'm sorry.
um,
I'm sorry.
but no, like you're saying though,
My facts were not right. Yeah.
Denver Denver is definitely going to be a team that's on the come up. Like I said last pod, I think they're going to give Kansas City all they can handle in that division for the next couple years. They're ahead of schedule anyway. The fact that they were even in the playoffs this year, I think, surprised a lot of people with Bo Nix and everything. So they're definitely ahead of schedule, maybe a little bit like the Texans were last year. We'll see what they're able to add in the offseason. But yeah, I like Bo Nix a lot. I think they're going to be definitely a team that'll be in the conversation for the next couple of years as far as the playoffs are concerned, for sure. But yeah, Bills get the win. They're going into that game next week against the Ravens with their head held high after a good beatdown for sure. Next, we'll talk about the Green Bay and Philadelphia game. This was what I thought was going to be the best game of the entire weekend. Ended up being an okay game, maybe not quite what I was expecting, a little bit of a shootout and everything, but Philly get the dub on this one, 22-10. To be honest, I didn't really feel like it was in doubt at any point for the Eagles. Right off the kickoff, the Packers fumble the ball, and the Eagles end up recovering, which, by the way, I thought the Packers recovered that, just FYI, but whatever. I don't feel like the Packers had recovered that, but
It's whoever gets it at the bottom of the pile.
I know. I was wondering about that during the game. I was like, I wonder how many fumbles, like just like half the team they jump on it and then like somebody steals it like under
Yeah.
there and then it just gets called like for that. Like I wonder how often that happens, but probably more
Yeah.
often than we realize. But
Probably.
Jordan Love throwing 3 interceptions this game. Terrible game for him. Obviously, I saw a lot of noise online afterwards. It was like, did Green Bay finally miss on a quarterback? Like, what's going on here? Because he's not looked good for several weeks in a row now. But what do you got to say about the Eagles taking care of business against the Packers here?
I mean, I thought it was going to be a little bit closer of a game as well. I know Green Bay was missing their top wide receiver, and Jordan Love was also
They
dealing
lost
with
like
a
3 more along the way too.
Yeah,
In the game.
yeah, and Jordan Love was also dealing with some sort of like hand numbness or what have
Yep.
you. But I was thinking the same thing, and I don't know. I don't follow Jordan Love all that closely, but he was kind of hyped up as this next big thing. They beat the Cowboys last year when no one really had them doing that. I think everyone kind of jumped on
That's what really elevated him.
yeah, I really jumped on the Jordan Love hype train. He's still good, but I think he just has like these games where it really leaves you guessing at the end of them. But then he'll have like one of those like crazy outstanding games, super mobile, good arm talent. I mean he's got so many receivers at his disposal over there at in Green Bay. So I don't know, future's still bright, I guess you could say. And they ran into the buzzsaw that is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah.
A lot of people have them honestly winning the Super Bowl, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, bit of a weird one.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously he's been hurt off and on this year, so I'm definitely dealing with some nagging injuries. We've seen Malik Willis come in a couple times during the season, so hopefully he can put together a more healthy year next year. I think a lot of people, including myself, were just a little bit too high on the Packers. I kind of had them as one of the top teams in the NFC. But maybe if Jordan Love was healthy for a lot of those, maybe even healthy this game, they could have put together a little bit more of a fight against the Eagles. But like you said, a lot of people have the Eagles going to the Super Bowl, so they're looking strong for sure. So We'll talk a little bit about the Eagles too. I want to give them their flowers. Saquon absolutely carrying once again. Another 100 plus yard game. No
Crazy.
touchdowns though, but we know how that goes. Jalen Hurts kind of takes all the touchdowns when they get down there inside the 5 or so. Even though
If you
he
don't
didn't have
get
a
in,
tush push,
Jalen's
but
getting it. That's right.
exactly. But yeah. So a solid win for the Eagles. They'll be facing, I believe it is the Rams next week or this weekend. So that'll be a great matchup as well. So congrats to them. But Saquon looking good as per usual. Next to last game of the wild card round was Washington and the Bucks. The Washington Commanders get their first win in the playoffs since 2005.
There you
I
go.
was 6 years old in 2005, man.
That's nuts.
23-20 victory here.
That's crazy.
Yeah, obviously their first win in the playoffs as the Washington Commanders since they changed their identity there. So
What were they before? What were they before?
the Redskins, man. This
Whoa,
OG
whoa!
team.
Don't cancel us. Don't cancel us, you
Yeah,
team.
yeah.
We're gonna get flagged for that for
Censor
sure.
that, censor that. Anyways, Jaden Daniels, man. Let's talk about him for a little bit. What do you think of old Jaden Daniels? Do you think he's one of the next big time talents here for the Washington Commanders?
I don't know if he's the next. He's here and now, bro. Like,
Yeah.
holy cow, this dude.
Rookie of the
Like,
year?
he's definitely for sure has to be.
Yeah.
I think I was saying it last week, and I said it out of complete ignorance because I had no idea. But obviously, voting for that already ended. It was a regular season award. But I made the comment that if they did go into the playoffs, like if Bo Nix were to beat the Bills and Washington were to lose to the Bucks, that you'd give it to Bo Nix, obviously. But that did not happen. Denver lost to the Bills as they were supposed to. Washington, I don't know if they were favorited, but I actually had the Bucks going through. And you know, we can talk about this a little bit. Baker kind of giving it up there at the end on that bad handoff. But all props to Jaden Daniels, bro. He seems like the real deal. He's a little bit of a psycho too, because how he's like talking about how like I didn't even smile when we won or whatever, and I'm just like, brother, like he like just doesn't feel anything. I was like, that's some serial killer type stuff, but I guess it works in sports too. But no, the dude's real deal. Washington really lucked out grabbing him instead of Caleb Williams.
Yeah.
Caleb Williams. But yeah, no, he's awesome, man. I love watching him, and honestly, I do love me some Baker, but I think it's cool that Washington's heading further into the playoffs.
Yeah, it's tough. The Bucks were favored in this game by about 3 points or so. I feel like the Bucks are just weird because they're just this team they never really get that much better each offseason. They're kind of good enough to barely win their division. Obviously, they're playing a weak division down there. They squeak into the playoffs. They won against the Eagles last year, which was a really, really good dub. But the Eagles were obviously terrible down the stretch. But they're just kind of going to be that team that gets into the wild card. If they get a good luck of the draw, they might win a game. But if not, they're not going to make it any farther. So
Right.
kind of a strange team. Obviously, their team would have looked a lot different if guys like Chris Godwin were still able to play and everything. But yeah, Commanders with a very solid dub. What do you got to say about that little doink at the end? Homie almost missed it.
I mean, better to be lucky than good sometimes.
Did you see all the comments about his OCD like crazy when he was stepping up?
Homeboy was tweaking, bro. Like, I just saw that today. I actually didn't even see anything after the game.
Bro, I saw it live. I was like, dude, you got to chill.
Just saw the meme, and I was just like, dude, your hair's fine. Just go kick the field goal, bro.
Yeah, I don't think it was ever about his hair. It was just he was nervous, man.
On that team. Holy cow.
Apparently. For those of you who didn't see it, before Zane Gonzalez stepped up for the kick, the camera's on him for like a solid 10 or 15 seconds. Just like filming him walking up to the kick. And the whole time, the dude is like almost putting on his helmet, like checking it, like putting his hair over, almost putting on his helmet again, like putting his hand through his hair again. I'm like,
absolutely wild.
This guy is, he was. And then apparently they cut to another part where he was like messing with his socks. Like, yeah, anyway, dude.
If there was any kicker
was
in the NFL
struggling,
that you
but-
would ever want to ice, that was the dude.
Yeah,
You should have iced the heck out. And once you saw that on the Jumbotron, because I think like some of what we see on TV is what they're showing on the Jumbotron. Like as soon as you see that, I'm just like, get this boy, like make him think about it even more. I'm calling all my timeouts at that point.
yeah, exactly.
I
And
don't
he's
even know
still
how
like,
many
it was
that
like a 30-something yard field goal, and he still barely doinked it in. So
barely.
he was,
man,
he was struggling, but hey, it went in. So 23-20 final score. Washington moving on to the next round. All that being said, we'll go into the Monday night game. Minnesota Vikings against the LA Rams in Arizona, actually, due to all the wildfires and everything in LA. Game was moved. Sounds like the Cardinals were really taking care of the Rams, sending a couple big time airplanes out there, getting everybody's families and everything to come to the game. So big props to them for that. Obviously it helped out a little bit because the Rams come out on top 27-9. I was feeling pretty good about this game just because, as some of you may remember last week, I had zero faith in the Vikings, man. I put together a whole spiel, man. Yeah, you were on the Vikings side, so you got nothing to say. But I put together a whole spiel about I didn't believe in the Vikings. Thought the Rams were going to beat them. I don't think I necessarily said beat them no problem, but yeah, I definitely thought the Rams were going to win. So
it was a
Vikings
problem.
go down. Sam Darnold took about 30 sacks in this game, just would not release the ball.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So what do you got to say about the Vikings coming short after a 14-win season, but still going to the playoffs as a 5 seed?
Oh man, it's just showing that game against the Lions was a bigger game than we thought.
Yeah.
Like I said when they went into that was a playoff game because it got you out of the first round of the playoffs. That's an automatic playoff win, just like that. And it might have made the Vikings look a little better than they are because, I mean, I think what you said either last pod or a few pods ago, like you were kind of making the point, who have they beaten? And then it kind of showed themselves. Crazy stat that their 2 losses in the regular season were they went Detroit Rams and then they did that again, Detroit Rams. So 2 teams, like, because you point out they had beaten nobody, like all like 500 or lower teams.
Yep.
And then they play 2 competent teams with competent coaches, absolutely crap the bed. Darnold absolutely craps the bed, even against Detroit's horrible defense because it got everybody and their mother on IR. And so I was just like, I don't know. It really, I had a lot of faith in the Vikings and just wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
Just wasn't meant to be, I guess.
They'd only beaten the Texans and the Packers out of the teams that were in the playoffs. And obviously the Packers ended up being not as good as a lot of people thought they were going to be. So, you know, a lot of beating up on a lot of bad teams for sure. So, but yeah, their season comes to an end. 14 wins, man, and still come up short in the first round.
Dude.
Do you think that if they would have gotten the first seed, that they still would have lost in the first round to just about anybody they played?
Yeah, but it wouldn't have been technically the first round. So
but the first game.
Yeah, and everybody would have been like, oh yeah, this is actually like a good team. Like, okay, let's put this in perspective. The Rams have been surging and peaking at the right time. They had, I think Puka and Kupp were injured for like a good stretch of the season. They didn't have a lot of their offensive players, like their premier offensive players. So Rams, I'm not trying to sit here and say the Rams are a bad team. And McVay is
definitely not
amazing coach. McVay is a crazy good coach. So, and O'Connell got out-coached, honestly, because O'Connell was trying to stick to his freaking script. And at that point, it's like, dude, you got to throw it out. You got to win this playoff game. And it just, you know, Sam Darnold just kept taking those sacks. I mean, granted, offensive line has to do a little bit better, but no, props to the Rams.
Yeah, definitely. I like the Rams. I feel like they just have a lot of really likable players. I love Kyron Williams. Love Puka, love Cooper Kupp. I like Cooper Kupp a lot. Of course you like
Kyron Williams.
Yeah, of course I do. That's my boy.
Won you the fantasy league, basically.
Yeah. Stafford, solid dude. But yeah, what do you think about Sam Darnold? Obviously, a lot of people were talking about him getting a massive contract in the summer, whether it be from the Vikings or someone else. But the last 2 games, he's taken several $1 million off the contract that he'll get from just about anybody. You were talking a little bit
Yeah.
off pod saying that you saw something that he might be getting a little bit more like Bake May numbers, maybe around 35 million or so.
Yeah.
You think he ends up sticking around with the Vikings, or you think the Vikings have seen enough after the last 2 games and want to move on to McCarthy?
I honestly think this kind of did the Vikings in a sense a favor, because there was no way they were going to be able to give. The only way they were going to be able to keep him is if they franchise tagged him. They weren't going to be able to give him the deal that he was probably looking for, his agent was looking for. But I mean, 30 to 40, I think after they just gave Jefferson like a crap ton of money is really, I don't know if they're going to be able to make that work, but they could. I think Darnold might have something to prove, and his best chances with the Vikings. So I could see them talking him down just a little bit, be like, hey, we could franchise tag you, keep you here, you can try again, or we could give you like 20 mil, 25 mil, or even the 30, and keeping him, letting JJ kind of play under him a little bit more. If it's not working out, you can always just switch to JJ, it's been done before. So that's the only good thing I see coming out of this. But for Darnold, absolutely horrible, leaving close to 10 to 20 mil on the table, because, I mean, you just left yourself at the end of the season with so many question marks, and he's looked like the Sam Darnold that everybody gave up on. So really hurt his contract and leverage, I guess you could say.
Yeah, definitely. He may be a product of kind of what the Vikings were all season 2, like doing really good against average or below average teams, but just can't beat the really good defenses. Honestly, like I feel like he could have done a lot better those games. He would make like really dumb like rookie decisions. Like he would just hold the ball for way too long and take a sack, or just like he would overthrow guys. Like I feel like it's just very things that are just easily coachable that you can just like coach out of a guy. But we'll kind of see where he ends up. Definitely going to be a lot of suitors, I think, though. There's a lot of teams out there that could probably use a guy like Sam Darnold, like you were talking about Steelers a little bit earlier. Obviously several of the teams that are maybe not quite in the playoffs this year, like wild take, maybe Dolphins. Like maybe you might go to the Dolphins if Tua, whatever. So there's like a lot of teams right there. I wouldn't say Falcons because they obviously have Penix now, but teams like that are right on the bubble, maybe just below, might could use a guy like him. So we'll see where he ends up next year. See how much money he gets, but that'll be a conversation for the offseason for sure. Rams will move on. And without further ado, let's talk about the divisional matchups coming up this weekend. This is the absolute best time of the NFL, in my opinion. Divisional. I feel like divisional is almost a little bit better than AFC and NFC championship because of the volume of games. Like AFC and NFC, there's 2 games and you're done. Like obviously it's almost always great football, but like it's just 2 games. Whereas the divisional is, it's 4 games. There's Saturday into Sunday kind of thing. So we'll kind of take them one by one, and we'll see. We'll give some predictions here, just like we did last week. Actually,
all right.
I want to look at our results from last week. LA Houston. Didn't you pick Houston?
No, dude, I can't remember. I should have gotten this.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I definitely picked the Chargers and they lost.
I think I did pick Houston. You're right, because we split on that one. I can remember based on what we did.
1-0 for Fez.
1-0.
Pitt, Baltimore. I picked Baltimore. Did you pick Pitt?
I had to pick Pitt. Like I couldn't
1-1.
pick them.
We both picked the Bills, I think.
We did. 2-2.
Yeah. Green Bay, Philly. I picked Philly, even though I was hoping Green Bay would win.
I had Philadelphia as well.
Okay, tied. Washington Bucks. I think Bucks. I actually said I had the Commanders actuty. I think in that one.
So 3-2, or 4-3.
Yeah, 3-2.
3-2.
Minnesota Rams. I definitely said the Rams,
and I had the Vikings.
So let's go. 4-2.
4-2. Sammy boy taking that week. We'll keep better track this week. See who comes out on top this week.
Chance for redemption here for you. So
chance for redemption.
Super
Bowl's worth 5.
All right, sounds good. see, from here on out, though, I feel like we're probably going to agree on most of the stuff. But we'll get
Probably,
into
but
it. We'll see. We'll see where we come out. So first
all
matchup
right.
of the weekend, we got the Texans going at Arrowhead to face Patrick Mahomes, back-to-back defending Super Bowl champs. The first game in the possible three-peat for the Kansas City Chiefs. How do you see this one going?
Oh, I honestly could see the Texans with their defense keeping it super close, but in crunch time, can't bet against Patty Mahomes. We got to go Chiefs on this one. Even
Yeah,
though my guy Stroud, I keep seeing things online. Dude, he is a great person. Like,
he is.
did you see the story I posted the other day about how he's like
Uh,
trying to stop cursing and stuff like that? I'm just
I
like,
didn't
dude,
see that, but
you
I
don't
know
hear that at all in
I
this
see
world.
I see a lot of reels about him just being a stand-up dude. I
Oh
think he's
yeah.
actually a believer, so I know
Yep.
that he talks a lot about his faith and everything, which I think is awesome. So there's just a lot of stuff about him being
But I gotta
an
go
overall good
Chiefs.
dude.
Sorry, Strim.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah, same. I'm completely on the Chiefs on this one. I think the Texans, obviously, you can kind of, they're still struggling. I think not having Stephon Diggs and losing Tank Dell late in the season. I think that that'll affect them on offense. And obviously, the Chiefs have one of the best defenses in the NFL. Chiefs coming off, um, they basically haven't played a game since Christmas, at least not their starters. So they're coming off massive rest. Nobody's better off a bye than Andy Reid. Those guys got dudes coming back. So I firmly believe the Chiefs are gonna get this dub at Arrowhead to start off their title defense here once again. Next we have Commanders Lions on Saturday night. This should be a pretty good game if the Commanders can get going on offense. But how do you see this one going?
All right, I gotta try to split with you so that way I can take a lead. I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm taking the Commanders. I honestly think it could happen just based on the Lions defense. Um, yeah, just based on the Lions defense and not having people, I'm gonna go Commanders just so I
Okay.
can try to catch a split on you because I feel
Yeah.
like you'll lean Lions, but I could be
I
wrong.
actually was kind of on the fence with this one, leaning more Lions though for sure. So I'll pick the Lions just to oblige your split there. I do actually
Perfect.
believe in the Commanders. I think that they're kind of one of those teams that can catch lightning in a bottle a little bit. If they can kind of, like I said, get something going on offense, get into a rhythm, I think that hopefully their defense can hold up and at least make it a game for sure. So, but obviously the Lions are obviously they kind of put up, at least in games that are somewhat close, they kind of put up a lot of points towards the end of the game as well. So it looks like they're just blowing everybody out. And obviously they have blown out teams in the regular season so far. They put up like 50 against my Cowboys. But um, I do think that some of their injuries might come back to hurt them a little bit once they start getting into the playoffs and start playing some really good teams that might hang with them. Obviously, MCDC, you never know what he's going to do. So I think that the Commanders definitely know or have a shot here, but I'll pick the Lions for sure. Next we got Rams at Eagles. I think this is going to be a really really good game. That'll be the Sunday afternoon game starting at 3 p.m. This should be a solid game, man. Just from start to finish. I think the Rams are quite a bit better than the Packers. Obviously, offensively, we rattled off some of the names that they got coming in and playing for them. Their defense looked really, really good against the Vikings. That may be a little bit of the Vikings collapsing and, Darnold letting them get a whole bunch. I think they had something like 11 sacks,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
pretty nuts.
nuts. 9 to 11
So
sacks.
yeah,
Stupid.
if the defense can do pull off another performance like that, man, I think they'll be right in there with the Eagles. So I'm actually gonna pick the Rams though.
Oh, okay.
Who do you got in this one? You gonna split with me again or what?
I am, but I was originally going to pick the Eagles anyway. So,
Okay, good.
yeah. So we're gonna go Eagles. Hopefully, we catch that split as well.
Yeah, like you said, the
Do we
Eagles could
wait?
definitely go all the way. So
All right, we'll figure this out and tell you guys next week. But there should be like if you pick like a point system. So obviously one for picking right, but then one for like if you pick the upset, you get an extra point
like
for
the
the
underdog.
upset.
Okay.
We
Yeah,
could do
sure.
something like that.
We'll roll something like that out next week. We'll
Yeah.
not try to think about it on the spot, but
Yeah.
yeah,
A
we'll
little more
come out with a
thought
point
put
system
into it.
and go from there. We'll try to go back maybe into the wild card round and see
Yeah,
who
we'll do
comes
it
out on
that way.
top. But And then the obviously the biggest matchup of the entire weekend, number 2 seed Buffalo Bills playing at home against the number 3 seed Baltimore Ravens with
Oh man,
Lamar. Most likely going to be the MVP just because all the chatter I'm hearing about him. I would have picked that one, but that's just me.
we don't have
Um,
our votes yet.
who do you got in this one?
Oh man, I think the Bills are coming in as a dog.
They are.
I'm thinking like because
Baltimore
this
is
is
a 1 point favorite, which is basically a
okay.
pick 'em.
Yeah, it's like a 50-50 coin flip. Ravens beat them in the regular season when they met by like a lot. They were missing some players on defense, which some people are saying, but I'm gonna go Ravens. I'm sorry, Jathan. I don't think you listen to this. I don't think you listen to this podcast, but if you do, I'm sorry, Jathan. I just gotta go with who I think. I don't want them to win the game, but that's who I think's gonna win the game. Give me Ravens over the Bills.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Bills, man.
Oh man.
I think the Bills are gonna come out on top. I think
See,
this. Go ahead.
this could hurt me just in our little competitive thing that we're doing because since they're a 1 point dog, if you end up winning, that's
Yeah.
2 points in the
Right.
so that works out. But that's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, I think that this year might finally be the year for the Bills. Obviously they've looked good most of the year. Beat the Chiefs in the regular season, which they did last year as well. But I think if they face the Chiefs or obviously anybody in the AFC Championship, it's going to be there for them for sure. I think after multiple playoff losses, this might be finally the year for them. I think it starts with a really solid performance against the Ravens. Obviously, like you said, they lost 35-10 to them in the regular season, but it's hard to beat a team twice, man. So that might actually come back to bite them if they play the Chiefs in the AFC Championship. But
It's true.
we'll talk about that if it does indeed happen. But I do have the Bills beating the Ravens on Sunday Night Football. So that's going to be an amazing game, primetime madness. So yeah, we'll see how that shakes out. We'll roll out our little competition, I guess you could say. We'll figure that how all that works out. But did want to touch on some coaching carousel before we dive into the college football. I know it's a little bit of a longer segment here, but we're in primetime football season, baby. So we do have a lot to talk about here. Coaching carousel, the biggest news is my Cowboys getting rid of Mike McCarthy, technically by mutual consent, could not come to a contract agreement on the last day, which is typical Jerry Jones. Side note, I think it's completely stupid that we denied the Bears an opportunity to interview him a few days before. When that happened, I thought I was like, okay, there's no way there's not going to extend him at this point, but ended up coming to the last day of his contract, not coming down on the same page, decide to let him go. So the Cowboys are looking for a coach for the first time since 2018. Obviously, a good run with Mike McCarthy, 3 straight 12-5 seasons. It's so weird, dude, because like I feel like the team finally is rallying around Mike McCarthy, even though we had a bad year. Everyone was talking good about him, whatever, and then Jerry's like, "Nope, you're done." So, it's just everything that makes sense goes out the window.
Jerry's good at Jerry. He's
every year, man.
I don't think there's anything going on upstairs. Like he owns one of the biggest sporting organizations in the world, and I just don't think anything's going on upstairs.
Completely senile, unserious about actually winning football games. It's ridiculous. And this typical Cowboys and Jerry fashion, he waits until the last possible second when multiple decisions have been made about coaches, about firings. Waits till the very last second for at least, until one of the candidates that I really wanted, even though I think it was a foregone conclusion from the beginning. We'll get into this in a second. Mike Vrabel going to the Patriots. I think he would have been amazing in Dallas. Don't think he would have picked Dallas over the Patriots, obviously, but that would have been an amazing hire if we would have fired McCarthy like at the end of the season instead of when we did. But the biggest talk coming out of that is Deion Sanders. This is getting loud over the last couple of days, saying that Jerry reached out to him, had a conversation. Offer has not been extended. Deion said a few hours ago, actually, that he would want to coach the Cowboys. So I'll get your opinion on that in a second, but I'll just put my opinion out there that I do not think this is going to happen. Again, I think in typical Jerry Jones fashion, I think he's going to milk this story for all it's worth, just because it is Deion. It's going to suck up all the airtime on ESPN and all the networks over this divisional round weekend and everything. And then he's probably going to hire somebody that he can control. Obviously, I don't think we're going to hire Dion just because of that. It's because Dion's going to take all the shine away from Jerry, no matter what he does. So we've seen how the media have kind of treated him at Colorado of all schools the last few years. So you can only imagine what he does if he's the coach of the Cowboys. So I don't think he's going to hire him for that reason, and I think he's just going to use Dion for all it's worth these next maybe few weeks or so, and then hire somebody, like I said, that he can control. So what do you think about this whole situation? I mean, we're not really in tune with the Cowboys and everything, but they're kind of nationally talked about all the time when something does happen. So I wanted to get your opinion on that as well.
Yeah, I could see it working just because it's Dion. Dion obviously has worked with Jerry Jones before. They're both two personalities that would clash, but they would learn how to work together. You brought up something off pod. I know we're talking a lot of off pod stuff, but just like, is he going to win there? I think he would do well. I don't think he would win right away, but it's the NFL, man. Like, it's different than like Colorado, where you got all these young bucks who want to come transfer from all these schools and come play for you. Like, even if you had players in the NFL that wanted to do that, it's a little different. You can't just like, yeah, I'm hopping in the portal, I'm going to go play at Colorado and take less money or whatever. So it is a little different. I think the command of the locker room that he would have would benefit them quite well. But at the same time, if there's two big dogs in the room, Jerry and Dion, one gets eaten, and then it just creates a mess. So I don't know. I really don't know about it. Like you said, I'm not super in tune with it. I think it could work, but at the end of the day, you're right. Jerry's going to make a story about it. We're going to talk about it forever, and then he's going to go hire an defensive coordinator from some team that did really well in the playoffs.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just how it's going to happen.
That's probably true. Unfortunately, I personally don't want us to hire Dion. I don't think he's that great of a coach. I think he's a great how do I say this?
Motivator?
He's a great motivator, obviously, for college. But I think that it takes a different kind of motivation to motivate men versus young men. I think the way that he runs a team by, bringing accountability to college guys, and, we're going to be on time to meetings. We're not going to, whatever, we're not going to wear our hat back or whatever. I'm just like making, whatever examples. I think installing that is obviously a great trait, but I don't think that he's that great of a coach. I don't think he's won against a team in the top 25 as long as he's been at Colorado. Granted, he's only been there 2 years, but everybody hypes him up like he's the next Nick Saban. So I just don't think he's all that. And I think coming to the Cowboys could really expose that. And I don't really want to live in suffering for that long. So I hope we don't sign him. But again, the people I'm hearing that we're interviewing, I'm just like, dude, what are we doing? So I would love Ben Johnson from the Lions, but I don't.
Yeah,
we'll see.
I was gonna say about that. I was hearing stuff about the fact that they didn't let McCarthy interview. I don't know everything about this. It's just something I heard. But basically, long story short, they missed out on interviewing Ben Johnson when they could have, and now he's interviewed with all these other teams. And obviously, there's like rumors that he really likes the Jags. He liked the Patriots, but obviously, we're gonna get into it. Vrabel, obviously, signed there as well.
Yeah.
So like they really just missed out on like the top candidates in this coaching carousel.
And in theory too, like the Cowboys should be like, if they're open compared to the other teams that are open, they should be at the top of everyone's list. But because of Jerry Jones, because of all the drama that comes with that, you're going to take all the slings and arrows when you do bad, and all the credit's going to go to Jerry Jones when you do good. And obviously the power struggle between the owner and the coach, that makes us an undesirable place to go. Like a coach shouldn't want to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars over the Dallas Cowboys. Like, that's ridiculous. But that's kind of the vibe that Jerry's created down there now. And it's just, it's not great unfortunately, until Jerry Jones passes away. I really don't think I can't see how it gets better unless he, as soon as a coach does good too, like he gets rid of him. Like Jeremy Johnson was the last time we did anything, and they got rid of him. So
well, he's also handcuffed the organization with a lot of his
With signings,
contracts, and
yeah,
yeah,
bro,
with
it's
a lot of his
ridiculous.
signings, like signing Dak for like resetting the market with Dak, and then CD deserves his money. Like he's someone you got to keep. But like someone like Dak, like giving him all that money, like now you can't go get a quarterback. If you want a quarterback, you're gonna have to draft one, and you don't have that high of a draft pick, and
Well,
it's
that's
just like
another
he's really
problem. Like he waits until the last second because he wants the Cowboys in the news. So he ends up paying top dollar because that's what it's going to take to re-sign these guys instead of re-signing them at the beginning of the offseason, save a little money. He's asked to keep them in the news. So, but anyways, we'll see how the Cowboys kind of manage that situation, see who their next coach is going to be. We'll get into Mike Vrabel going to the Patriots. Like I said, this is a candidate I really, really wanted. Been out there for at least a year or two at this point. I know he's been an analyst or whatever at a couple places, but I really wanted Vrabel, but he is going back to his hometown Patriots. You think he turns them around? I'd seen both sides of the coin here over the last few days. I think I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh yeah, he's not going to be able to really do much with them. Like he's not going to. There's too much to fix. Blah blah blah." But I could see the Pats really hitching their wagon to him for the next few years. I've also seen people say that he's going to turn them around like he did the Titans when they took the Titans to the couple AFC championship games. So what do you think that he's going to do over there at the Patriots?
I see nothing but good things happening with him.
Yeah,
I mean,
unfortunately.
I heard this story from Peter, and Peter's obviously a Patriots fan, so he is more connected to them than we are. But he was saying that the whole reason that they hired Gerard Mayo was because in Belichick's, I guess, like terms of termination or whatever, I guess you could say, he put in there that they needed to hire Gerard Mayo as his successor.
Dumb.
And in order to get rid of him, that was kind of like his non-negotiable.
Yeah.
So they hired him for a year, but it was always going to be Vrabel, because if you think about it, Vrabel was at like the top of the list of a lot of coaching jobs last year. Decided not to take any of them. He was, I think, like tight end coach or something like that with the Browns this past season. So kind of staying in an organization. But I don't know. For what that's worth, that's the story. I think Vrabel was always the guy that the Pats wanted.
Yeah.
And he's a great pick. He's been a Patriot. He's been a NFL coach at a high level, like getting a underachieving team to overachieve. Didn't they get to a
AFC Championship. Yeah.
an AFC Championship game?
I believe the other team that beat Brady in his final game as a Patriot
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
playoffs. So
yeah. So I mean, and he just knows like what the Patriots are about. He's gonna bring that back. I've seen it on some podcasts where there's gonna be no bull in those locker rooms. He's gonna put everybody in their place, even ownership. So
everything
it's gonna
about
be
him
good.
I like. Just the fact that he's going to the Patriots kind of sucks, but I did
Yeah.
see that that they had put that in the contract as well. I don't know why you would do that, but how this is complete side note, but how do you pronounce the coach that just got fired? How do you pronounce his name for the Patriots?
Gerard Mayo.
Okay, that's what I thought too. Forever, Peter keeps saying Mayow. And he
Mayo.
does it on purpose. Like he actually thinks that's how it's pronounced. I'm like, dude,
Really
maybe in the
interesting.
next couple weeks we'll get him on the podcast and we can discuss further. But
Yeah,
he used to bug the heck out of me. He was like, Gerard Mayow. I'm like, that's not how you pronounce it. He's your
yeah.
coach. You don't know how to
Sounds like
pronounce
he's
his
like
name.
Samoan or something, like from
That's what I'm
Hawaii,
saying.
like Gerard Mayo.
Yeah. But
Interesting, like Maui
anyways,
from Moana or something like that.
yeah, exactly.
Wild.
So yeah, we'll see how if he's able to turn around the Pats over the next few years. Obviously he's a great coach. Again, would have loved him on the Cowboys, but it's okay. Last thing for the coaches before we get into the college ranks. We don't have to spend too much time on this. Probably because it more than likely won't happen. But there were a lot of reports the last couple of weeks of teams gauging the interest of Kevin O'Connell and possibly offering a trade to the Vikings to get Kevin O'Connell. What do you think about these rumors about him possibly being on the move? I can't really see it if I'm him, but what do you got to say about some of these teams reaching out?
I mean, yeah, I would, if I were teams, I'd be reaching out. Just like I think one of the teams reached out on Tomlin. Obviously, found out he had a no trade clause and was like, yeah, he's not coming here. Don't know which team that is, but Kevin O'Connell's a Viking through and through. He's done really well. Like we were talking, He's taken Kirk Cousins and I think last year they almost went to the playoffs with him. We're doing well with Kirk Cousins. This year obviously did really well with Sam Darnold. Obviously came up short in the playoffs yet again. But I mean, if JJ McCarthy's everything they're saying he is, I think they're set for the future, and Kevin O'Connell shouldn't go anywhere. And I don't think he wants to go anywhere. So
yeah, I agree for the most part. I think it's smart on teams' behalf if they're, it's like what's the worst they can say is no, like,
right.
So if I was Kevin
That is the
O'Connell,
worst thing.
yeah, exactly. um, if I was Kevin O'Connell, I'd at least listen. Like, depending on which teams come in, like they could be a better situation than the Vikings, because the Vikings, even though they have obviously a solid, solid future, it looks like maybe with McCarthy, depending on how you view McCarthy. Again, I think this season was kind of they did way better than they were supposed to. Just they kind of got a really nice schedule. I don't think they're really going to get that next year. So depending on how you see the next 2 or 3 years with the Vikings going, I think if I was him, I'd at least listen. Like, if a team like even like the Cowboys or the Steelers or somebody else like that came knocking, I'd at least listen to him. But like you said, he's kind of built that team the last few years. The Vikings were kind of inconsistent before that. He's kind of made them at least into a playoff contender year in, year out, at least when they're healthy. Obviously, they didn't make it last year, but Kirk Cousins went down pretty early with an ACL. So, but yeah, we'll see where he probably isn't going anywhere more than likely, but interesting to see teams reaching out on him of all people. So, yeah. That was a lot of NFL talk. We'll kind of switch over to college football. Won't take too much more time for this segment. Almost an hour once again on football, but
of course.
Here we go. Semifinals, Notre Dame, Penn State. Great game. Did you see this game? 27-24. Notre Dame come out on top. Started off a little bit slow. Able to put together a solid second half. Amazing fourth quarter by both teams. I think the Notre Dame Fighting Irish put together 2 touchdowns, and then Penn State couldn't quite keep up, and they nixed them right at the end. Did you see any of this game? What say you about the college ranks so far?
I didn't watch any of this game because unfortunately we were podcasting during it, and that it wouldn't let me have it on while we were podcasting. So I was like, what the heck? So I had the score going. I did watch the highlights. Wild stuff. Really tragic pick late in the game to set up that drive for Notre Dame to kick the game-winning field goal. But great game. I was rooting a little bit more for Notre Dame, honestly. I don't know. It's just something about Penn State. Just can't stand them. But Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish, move on.
Yeah, like you said, brutal interception by Drew Aller really late there. That's really kind of his thing. I feel like he always chokes in big moments. Obviously, the Penn State's gotten a little bit lucky with their draw in the playoffs so far by playing SMU and then playing Boise, definitely a little bit below some of the top tier teams that they could have played. But you never know. If he doesn't throw that interception, Penn State may go right down the field and score. So definitely kind of handed them the game there. Notre Dame basically threw it one time and then kicked a field goal. So just a tough way to end for the Penn State. But I do believe that Drew Aller is going to be coming back next season, so we'll see if he's able to get them to the playoffs once again. Notre Dame move on to the national championship game, first time since 2013, I believe. Which I feel like we always kind of think about Notre Dame as being this blue blood with all this history, which they do have. But at least the last 10, 15 years, like they've been in the playoff, but you never really consider them being like a solid like national contender. But here they are, man, in the championship with everything to play for against the Ohio State Buckeyes. They come off a very good dub against the Texas Longhorns. Just a solid win by Ohio State. I feel like everyone kind of saw this coming. Ohio State's kind of been known all year to be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the country, even though they lost to Oregon and that bumped them down in the rankings a little bit. I feel like at least on paper, they have everybody that is needed to win the championship. They obviously have the 2-headed monster in the backfield, the Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. They put together good games, almost 50 yards by both of them. Will Howard, I feel like, is pretty mid for them as far as the quarterback goes, but he's able to he's good enough to kind of make that team go. Quinn Ewers really struggled in this game. Obviously had an unfortunate interception, kind of up and down. Only completed 23 of 39 of his passes. But what say you about this game? I watched a lot more of this game than I did the other game, I will say. But Ohio State just just running through all these opponents. They've put together a really solid thing going forward. So what do you have to say about the old Buckeyes making it to the national championship once again?
Yeah, I mean, all year they've had the best roster in college football for sure, top to bottom. Had some unfortunate losses, losing to Michigan in the regular season and stuff like that. But yeah, the biggest story was Ewers just didn't really show up. Played a really, really bad game, kind of like in comparison to like Sam Darnold, like great regular season, played really well against Arizona State, and then obviously kind of crumbles when they meet a formidable opponent. But I mean, he had a bad interception, that scoop and score down in the red
Yeah.
zone really kind of
Can you
sealed their
talk about
fate.
that a little bit? Yeah.
Yeah, that was wild. That was his roommate back
Yep.
at Ohio State when he was there, like
Exactly.
forever ago. But yeah, no,
Jack
I mean,
Sawyer's
kind
a
of
dog, man. I like him.
absolutely. The story they were
He's a
telling a
dude,
story about
man.
how he got his first call when he got recruited was OSU, and he was talking to Coach Day, and his dad said, "Well, we're gonna listen to these other offers, these other schools." Dad falls asleep, takes a nap, calls Coach Day, says, "I'm coming to Ohio State. I don't
That's
care what
right.
my dad says. We're gonna listen to
Columbus
those guys."
kid. Yep.
Columbus kid, yeah, great story, great story. But yeah, kind of unfortunate for the Longhorns. Good season,
Yeah.
but Ohio State just takes care of them as
Yeah.
always.
Quinn Ewers declared for the draft a couple days ago, so he'll be at least on paper one of the top quarterbacks taken probably in the first round this year. So we'll see where he ends up in the NFL. Ohio State, like I said a little bit earlier, just wanted to run through some of their wins. They've absolutely destroyed playoff competition this year. Obviously didn't play in the Big Ten championship game. But Tennessee, who a lot of people thought that they were going to be kind of maybe possibly a dark horse in the playoff, could make some noise, destroyed them 42-17. Number one team in the country in Oregon, Big Ten champion, undefeated, 41-21, no problems at all. After losing to them by 1 point in the regular season, which they could have beat them in the regular season as well if Will Howard didn't slide and let the rest of the time go off the clock. And then they obviously beat Texas 28-14, which Texas, like I said, kind of up there with Ohio State, one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the country most of the year, but really kind of handled them. I wouldn't say without too much issue, but they definitely handled them pretty well as well. So I do think that Ohio State's probably going to win against Notre Dame. I'm not sure what you think, but I do have the Buckeyes winning the national championship. It's still wild to me that they lost to Michigan 13-10. I was
know,
like,
right?
what the heck? How did that happen? But
Yeah.
here they are with a chance to win the whole thing. You got Ohio State in the championship as well.
Oh yeah, they're I don't want to say big time favorites, but Ohio State's definitely the better team. I will say though, Notre Dame, since losing to NIU, went on an 11-0 win streak and hasn't lost since then. That's, I think, their only loss of the season. One loss. Are they a one-loss team?
Notre Dame? Yes.
Yeah, I
Yep.
believe they're a one-loss team. So I mean, if they mess around and win the national championship, you're gonna have signs at NIU saying like, "Oh, we're technically national champions because we're the only ones to beat Notre Dame."
Dude,
But
I
that's
haven't seen anything quite that far, but I have seen like NIU, like after each playoff win, basically they post something like, "Oh, the only team to beat them or whatever," blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So
Did you also see? This is a side note again on Notre Dame, but they kept for winning their last game, which was technically semi. But what bowl was it technically?
the Ohio State Texas game.
No, the Notre Dame game. Well, there was a
Oh, that was sorry, what?
each game is technically a bowl game, right? Each round of the
the semi. Yep, it was the Orange Bowl, I think. Are you talking about the Penn State Notre Dame game?
Yeah,
Yep,
and
Orange Bowl.
for making the national championship game, that conference that makes the national championship game
see this.
gets $20 million, but Notre Dame doesn't have a conference, so they get to pocket that 20 mil all
they don't
for
have
themselves.
to split it.
That's absolutely wild. They payday and playing for a national championship game. They're just winning at life, I guess.
Yeah. What do you think that the the spread. What do you think the spread is for the national championship game?
Spread.
How many points do you think what a team is favored
I
by?
think I say they're pretty good favorites, but not crazy. I'm gonna go 6.
8. Ohio
8.
State is 8-point favorite, bro.
Dang, that's pretty hefty.
That's pretty hefty for a
Because
championship game, man.
I went generous because I almost said 9, but I was like, "There's no way. It's a national championship game." But that's kind of 8. Okay.
It's a large spread. So, we'll
Dang.
see. Obviously, how that game shakes out. It is on a Monday, which always annoys me. Like college
Yeah.
is made on Saturday, and sometimes I guess you can put Sunday in there. Some games happen on Sunday, but I've said Sundays for NFL. But I always think it's weird that Mondays are the national championship games on a work night and everything. So it's just kind of sucky. But obviously, you can add that game onto your football calendar this weekend for just another great game, hopefully. So that will finally conclude the football segment for this episode here. Obviously, over an hour of NFL and college football talk, but always a lot to get into around this time of year for the NFL. So we'll close out this segment and get into a little football next. So stay tuned.
All right, hopping over the pond, we're going to take a look at the top of the Premier League with both of our teams in it, but some unusual names at the top as well, and some usual names not doing so hot. We're going to take a look at Arsenal first. Going to hand this over to Sammy Boy to talk about his Gunners, kind of coming into some form here lately, but how do you feel about them at the top of the Premier League with Liverpool?
Yeah, we're pretty solidly in second place. We've won 4 of the last 5 games in the Prem. And none sweeter than against our big-time inner-city rivals against the Tottenham Hotspurs. Go down pretty early in this one, 1-0 off a pretty good goal by Son, but come back with 1 goal in the first half and another in the second to secure a dub, 2-1. Like I said, nothing sweeter than winning one over your inner-city rivals. Feels really good to have Spurs way down. They're actually under United in 14th place. So always love to see that. So good to get one over them. Even though we're still struggling with injuries a little bit, we're able to kind of weather the storm. But Bukayo Saka obviously being out for us has hurt us in the short term here. But we have Raheem Sterling over there on the right wing now, which isn't great. He was kind of screwing everything up in our cup games as well. But he only plays like the first half and then he comes off. But hopefully Martinelli will be back and we're able to start Trossard on a regular basis there. But always a solid dub against the Spurs and just keeping the pressure on Liverpool.
Yeah. No, Tottenham's really that low.
Yeah, 14th,
that literally
bro.
Threw me for a loop. That's why I was
They've
stuttering.
lost 4 of the last 5 and tied the other one.
That's crazy.
So.
What happened to Ange Ball?
I don't know, man.
Big Ange,
he said at the beginning of the season, he's like, "Yeah, this is usually the season where I start winning some silverware." Like, was his second year there, second or third? So he's, whatever.
Tough. Aren't they out of like the League Cup as well?
No, so they won against Liverpool in the last minute. So they're going into the second leg with a 1-0 advantage over Liverpool, which I fully expect Liverpool to come back from, but you never know.
Absolutely. Moving back to the league, we got Brentford and Man City coming to a draw. Man City collapsing. They went up 2-0 thanks to Phil Foden. Brace, but Man City's got a Man City. This is kind of the new normal for Man City.
Yeah,
falling apart.
Love it.
Dude, I think I've said this before. I love Pep, love some of the players, but dude, if you're gonna cheat, obviously with those pending charges still hanging over them, it's not looking too good for Manchester City. I saw a meme the other day where it was like, jokingly they said all charges have been dropped because Man City's about to relegate themselves anyways. So,
no one feels bad for them, dude. Like,
no,
it's crazy.
Absolutely not. It's like the Chiefs and Patriots whole thing. Like, if you win enough, there's gonna be people that just don't like seeing you win all the time. Like, let someone else do it.
Yeah, it's not even just that either. It's just the way that they win with all their oil money now, with all the allegations. They just completely unlikable team as far as I'm concerned. So
yeah, completely unlikable. But Brentford, kind of that sneaky team that you never want to play in the Premier League, coming back
Last
against
minute,
them.
last
Last
minute
minute
goal.
2-2 draw. Then we're going to look at a very unlikely team at the top of the Premier League right now. Nottingham Forest. Maybe back in the day, even before our dads were watching soccer, this was kind of the norm. They got a couple of back then European championships under their belt. But they draw with Liverpool 1-1. Did you watch this game? And if you did, what did you think about it? I kind of saw it as like a measuring stick for Forest. Like they're playing with the team that's top of the Champions League, top of the Premier League, and keeping them to draw. They actually beat them earlier in the season. So Forest, the real deal.
Yeah, I think so, man. They don't really have a solidified star on their team, really. Obviously, they have
Right.
Anthony Elanga from Manchester United, but that's really the most recognizable player that's really in their squad. Maybe Hudson Odoi. I know he spent some time at Chelsea, but
Mm-hmm.
kind of a Leicester 2.0. I do think that they might have obviously a little bit more history than Leicester, and they might be a little bit more recognized, but definitely punching above their weight for sure. And they had Liverpool, I wouldn't say necessarily on the ropes, but they were leading until the 65th minute. So definitely playing with the big boys as well. They're not just scooping up points against inferior competition and falling flat against the big six teams. So yeah, solid draw by them. They're sitting in third, I believe. So
Yeah, third for sure. If they won that game, they were going to be three. Would have been in second and 3 points back from Liverpool. I think
mm-hmm.
you saw they had a game in hand as well, so they would
Liverpool
have been
does,
sitting
yeah.
pretty comfortable at the top of the Premier League. Kind of wild to think that we might be seeing Nottingham Forest in the Champions League next year.
Yeah,
First time in a long time.
yeah,
Another
definitely.
team that definitely will not be in the Champions League next year. I don't even know if they will be in the Premier League next year. That's a little bit of a stretch, but honestly not doing too hot. Manchester United finally get a win against Southampton. Did not start well. Saw that they started off down one with a crazy, stupid own goal, but I did not watch this game, did not see too much about it, so I'll let you kind of take this one over and give us a analysis of Manchester United's win.
Well, I didn't see too much of the game. Just saw bits and pieces of it while I was at work, but still kind of crazy that they need a 10-minute Ahmad Diallo hat trick to beat the absolute last team in the league 3-1 at home. But they get it done nonetheless. They didn't score till the 82nd minute, and then obviously put three on them late. But not too much to say here. United is still struggling just with basic things in this game. I do think slivers of how the new manager wants to play are finally coming to light, which I think is obviously a good thing for them. But obviously struggling most of the game, but come out with the dub. So I do like Diallo a lot. A couple weeks ago, I was talking to my buddy at work who's an Arsenal fan. I was watching a United, I think it was United against Liverpool. And I was like, dude, I wish we could buy Diallo, man. Like he's a good
Dude,
player, man. Like he's
he's
shifty,
great.
he's quick. Like he would be great on Arsenal, but obviously they're United aren't going to let their one player that could actually do something go so easily. So yeah, solid win for them.
Yeah, huge for Manchester United. We're gonna round off the Premier League portion of this segment. Talking about my Blues not doing so hot. I think uh, we talked a little bit about them last week, but not too much to report this week either. A draw against Bournemouth, who have been surging a little bit. Bournemouth actually, they're kind of in the top of the Premier League too, like top 8 or something like that. Playing well, doing well. I think they got a huge win against Liverpool a few weeks back, or a draw. I can't remember. I can't remember these things. Sammy Boy's the numbers guy, but I'm
You
kind
guys
of
needed a
starting.
late goal against Bournemouth too to
Yeah,
save something, right?
yeah, to save something to grab some points off of this. It was pretty unfortunate. I was not able to watch this game as well. I tried to. I was at work and we weren't doing anything. I was able to watch the Liverpool Forest game, but I did not have the streaming service that allowed me to watch Chelsea, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Thanks to our wonderful owner over there keeping everything on bigger networks that I don't have. Um,
Don't have.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm starting to see why our coach kind of said we weren't title contenders, because he's seems to be right in that. Huge huge performance from Reece James coming back from injury for like the first time in another year. I think he's played like 3 games in the last
I
4
was gonna
years or
say I
something,
haven't seen much
something like
from
that.
him the last few games, but for a
He's
long while.
another one. We talk about frail Pulisic always being hurt. Then you got big boy. I don't know. It's kind of like a it's kind of like a oh, what's his name? Zion Williamson from
Yeah,
like
you
he's
can see
like so
that.
athletic, but he's just like such a big guy. And I mean, Reece James not as big as him, but like for a soccer player, he's pretty big. And like when that much is moving around and trying to stop it, things are gonna give out, especially if you've been hurt before.
Got to
But
stretch, man. Got to stretch.
yeah,
Um, yeah. At least you have one bright spot the last 4 games. You lose to Ipswich, tie against Palace, tie against Bournemouth. Those are all in the league, but you did just destroy Morecambe Town in the FA Cup 5-0 at the weekend. So
oh my
um,
gosh.
FA Cup third round coming in clutch for you boys. At least you can
Hey,
win that. But I
hey,
always get
good for
upset,
us.
dude. I think that Arsenal somehow they always get the short end of the stick in these FA Cup draws because
Yeah.
everyone else in the Prem is playing like non-league, like fourth division, third division. Tottenham, by the way, almost blew it against a fifth division side. By the way, had to go to overtime. But anyway,
I love it. I love it.
Arsenal, we had to play Manchester United. I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, what the heck? Like we lost on pens. We didn't even talk about
Yeah.
that. But I feel like we always get good teams in these cup competitions while everyone else gets to play Mickey Mouse. But anyways, whatever.
Yeah, your draws seem to be just kind
They
of
always
diabolical all
suck,
the
dude.
time. Like,
Unbelievable.
holy cow. I mean, this is why you guys don't win anything. Just everyone's out to get you.
Yeah.
No one likes Arsenal. No one likes Arsenal.
No, that's right.
Ever
Everybody's
since you
against
guys
us.
had that undefeated season, they're just like, yeah, you're never winning anything again.
Literally put a curse on us, man.
Yeah, so that's a look at the top of the Premier League. Some unlikely teams at the top with Forest, and then likely teams like Liverpool rounding off the top. We're going to move into the Spanish Super Cup that took place this past weekend. Madrid and Barcelona, El Clasico.
Clasico.
A little bit of a bloodbath. Let's go.
Again, dude.
Barcelona 5-2 over Madrid. I don't know. Everyone was like saying Madrid with Mbappe, they were about to win the next 8, and I was one of them. The next 8 Champions Leagues in a row, win everything. But
I mean, hey, they still might. Let's be honest.
they still might. It's the Champions League. They're gonna make it into the next round whenever that happens. That's taking forever. But
right.
I digress. Did you watch this game, and what do you think about this new look Madrid going on, but not really getting it done against the likes of Barca?
Yeah. Honestly, dealing with a lot of injuries. I know they were playing Chouameni at a center back position, which obviously is not his position usually, but no excuses. Obviously, it's the El Clasico is what you show up for. Mbappe scoring early, taking the lead. So obviously, if they're good enough to do that, they're good enough to hang with them. But yeah, just got away from them in the first half. Really, it was I believe it was 4-1 by the end of this first half, which is just craziness. Vibes of the first Clasico of the season a little bit earlier when they got lambasted like 4-0. But just not really showing much fight. I think I turned it off. I think in the 55th, maybe right before Madrid scored a second goal. By then it was I think it was right after the Barca 5th goal. I was like, all right, this isn't even a Clasico anymore. Like I'm just gonna whatever. But yeah, just not a strong showing by the Madrid team there. Like I said, a lot of injuries, but they still have their core, at least on offense, of Vinicius Jr., Jude Bellingham, Rodrigo on the right, Mbappe playing down the middle of the attack. So just a tough outing for the Madrid men here. Barcelona really have not been in great form for several weeks now, but they come to play. I guess they could play Madrid this season. If they could play Madrid every week this season, they might win the whole league. But yeah, good win by them, I guess, for sure. So
yeah, that's not usually the case. Usually that's the team we're dropping points to, and then we're losing the league because of those points. But yeah,
they're down in third now. Atletico Madrid is in first now, but
yeah, I think they have a club record. They just won I could be totally wrong, but I think it's like 14 league games in a row or something like that. Something crazy.
I think so. They're doing really well.
Yeah, Barca finding a bit of form, definitely against Madrid. hopefully we can carry that up into the rest of the league and Champions League, because we were playing pretty good at the beginning of the season. It's nice to see Barcelona being competent and
It's been
competitive.
a while, huh?
It's been a minute. We have been reeling since Messi left, and
Pretty
that's been a while
much.
ago now. So
You basically only won that one league 2 years ago now with Xavi, and
with
even that was
Xavi,
kind of a little bit of a blip. Like Madrid not doing too great, Atletico not in the picture.
pretty sure Madrid still
But
won the Champions League that year,
they
though.
did. Yeah,
So,
I think so.
anyways, good to see. Always a good day when Barcelona beats Madrid, in my book, personally. But
Fun.
that's gonna do it for us for this segment. We're gonna move on to some basketball. All right, we're going to end the podcast taking a look at some college basketball. Sammy Boy was telling me that he's had some games on this past week. Starting to heat up with, I think we're little halfway through conference play, with some teams kind of showing themselves to be frauds, some teams showing themselves to be better than anticipated. One of those teams we're going to take a look at, not only just because our boy Noah plays for him, which he did not play a whole lot, which we'll get into. But Louisville on a 7-game win streak, kind of, I don't know, their new coach, Pat Kelsey, finding the pieces, putting it together, kind of in shambles right after their preseason tournament that they almost won. But a lot of injuries kind of plaguing the Cardinals, but finding a way to get this 7-game win streak. They're currently 13-5, 6-1 in the ACC, which is good. I think they're tied with Clemson for second. And then obviously Duke at the top of that, who is just head and shoulders above anybody else in the ACC right now.
Nuts.
Especially the team that Louisville just beat. And sadly, it had to be Syracuse. Syracuse is
got destroyed.
We got absolutely manhandled. Noah Waterman, big dunk to start the game off. Bit of an injury for Noah. I did not know this, but he has like 3 pins in his thumb. I think it's his shooting hand too. He has not been shooting or playing as well as he did at BYU, obviously last year, but also this year. Kind of got beat out of his starting position. But you said you had a few games on. I don't know if this was one of them, but what do you think about Louisville and their situation right now? I know the injuries were kind of something people were taking a look at, but with their new coach, got Louisville back on the map.
Yeah, I watched a little bit of this game just because obviously Syracuse, I got a little bit of a connection, spent some time up there. I knew that Noah played for Louisville as well. I'm sure he would have loved to play a little bit more. I think he ended up in like 10 or 11 minutes out of the whole game. I'm sure he would have loved to play a little bit more, going kind of back home, I guess, to Syracuse, upstate New York area. But yeah, just a cool game for him. But Syracuse just, I feel like I noticed more Syracuse being really bad than Louisville doing really great. Obviously, it was a great win for Louisville, but Syracuse just not really bringing it this year. But yeah, Louisville has a good squad. I think they'll definitely be in the tournament this year. Maybe make some noise. So, but Syracuse probably will not be.
Syracuse will definitely not be in the tournament. I don't even think they'll be in the ACC after this season. I don't even know.
Whoa!
We need to go to some like Sun Belt conference or something stupid like that at this point. We do have some up and coming recruits coming next year. We were definitely without one of our best freshmen, Freeman. He did not play in this game. I don't think it would have made a difference. But yeah, Louisville doing well. I think the stat on this is also they currently have more wins this season than they did in the past 2 seasons combined. So Louisville fans can definitely take pride in that. I'm a bit of a before Noah got there. I still remember that one national championship run. I can't remember how old I was. Was that like 2008 or something like that? No, it was like 2013.
No. Yeah, it was like I think it was
2011.
13. I think it was 13.
Get fact checker Sam on that, but no, a bit of a Louisville fan. Good to see them. Competitive, I guess, is the word that you'll use for them. All right, to finish off the podcast and this segment, I just wanted to take a look at this. I don't know if you've been keeping track of this, but we do have kind of a 2-horse race for National Player of the Year. We got Janiyah Broome from Auburn, who is currently her ankle injury out 2 to 3 weeks. and surging right now, playing really, really good ball on a really, really good team that some say should be ranked number one. Cooper Flagg starting to take off. All the hype is starting to finally show itself. I know he was hyped up as this super big prospect coming into this year, playing against the U.S. national team in that exhibition scrimmage, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's hitting jumpers on LeBron, KD. Like this is the next one." I saw a funny meme the other day where they said, "Cooper Flagg is the Michael Jordan of Gordon Hayward's," and I was just like, "Dog." It's kind of true though. Kind of true. I don't know if it's
Great
just
white
because he's a
hope.
white boy, but I just wanted to get your take on this, and who do you kind of see finishing out the season as the National Player of the Year? Janiah Broom obviously going to miss some games here, but who do
Yeah.
you think's going to come out on top?
I think that might hurt him in the race, at least for the player of the year. Things like that, not being able to play all the games of the year, I think might hurt in the awards section for sure. I'm a little bit on the Cooper Flag wagon already. Homie put up 42 points against Notre Dame, so
Insane.
42 points in college is absolutely wild. So didn't quite have as great of a game, I think, in the very last game that they played, but I don't think I think he only played like 3/4 of the game because they were up by so much. But yeah, I'm definitely entrenched into the Cooper Flag section, I guess, of the Player of the Year award, at least so far. I think it's going to take a lot for someone else to win it. Obviously, like you said, the biggest challenger to him right now is going to be hurt for a few games here going forward. So we'll see if anyone else is able to rise up and take it from him. But I think it's Cooper Flag to lose at this point. So
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely the one thing that I think could hurt him, like we were kind of joking before with Syracuse and Louisville and all these other teams. The ACC is not a good league, not a good league because we got Louisville.
weird.
It's really weird. It's always been kind of like the premier college basketball league, but with the likes of like
Now you're like
Syracuse and
third or fourth now.
I
Not a
know,
great
I
conference.
know, but like the likes
But
of Syracuse and even UNC not doing well this year. It's kind of like I wouldn't even say top heavy because before you'd have like UNC and Duke at the top, and then a third team that was like
yeah,
mid tier, could beat most teams in the nation, but
yeah,
uh,
UNC's like 11-6 or something. I was seeing. I was watching some of
yeah,
their game. Yeah, if you're banking on football school, Clemson as your second or third best team, you're in trouble as a conference. So
which they did. They were looking really good at the beginning of the season. They were a bit of fakers beating. I mean, they beat Kentucky. It's college basketball. Like,
who?
I mean,
Clemson?
yeah, Clemson beat
Oh,
Kentucky,
yeah.
and I
No,
think Kentucky.
yeah, I wasn't sure you talking about, but yeah.
Yeah, Kentucky. But the only thing I could see, and if I like personally, I would put if he comes back from injury and he plays like he's been playing, I would almost edge Janiah Broom,
Interesting.
strictly because the SEC is the best league in college
Yeah.
basketball right now.
Yeah,
So good.
we could talk about Tennessee getting destroyed.
Yeah.
And then like 3 days later, Florida losing, and Tennessee hasn't lost since then. So like,
Yeah.
it's
And
crazy
then
what's going on over there.
just last night, Mizzou beats Alabama, who's
Yeah,
ranked in the
exactly.
top 10 as well. And I'm just like the SEC top to bottom. I don't. They might get their whole freaking league
Crazy.
in the freaking
Yeah,
tournament at this point.
wild.
But that's the only reason that I would maybe edge Janiah Broom at this point. And obviously, I think they do take into account. Yeah, it goes up to the Final Four. They take the tournament into account. So obviously, we could get there. Auburn could go out in the second round, and Cooper Flag and Duke end up in the Final Four. And obviously, you got to give it to Cooper Flag because I think one thing that doesn't necessarily hurt them helps them because it's the same for both. Janiah Broom was out this past week, and his team still handled an SEC team handily. And then I think if you take Cooper Flag off of Duke, they're still a very good team without them. So both teams don't need them. Obviously, way better with them. And so that just helps their chances because their teams are going to do well once we hit tournament play at the end of the season. But yeah, as of now, I would still edge Janiah Broom because he's just kind of been doing it in a better league thus far this season. So
Fair.
that's my hot take to end the pod.
All righty.
I think that's a pod, Sammy, huh?
That is a pod.
We appreciate all you guys hanging with us. It was a bit of a longer one, some technical difficulties. Hopefully I can splice that together and you only know once you get to this part of the podcast. But obviously football's coming to an end, so we're going to hit that pretty hard before we have nothing to talk about during the summer. We don't even have Olympics, no major tournaments coming up. Nothing this summer, so we'll hit basketball here once football ends, but we're going to hold on to it as long as we can. But we appreciate you guys for sticking with us, listening to this long pod. We hope you guys will check us out on all our platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. Like and subscribe, leave a comment, and we will see you guys on the next one. All right. Peace.
Peace.